Hello everyone! Today I really wanted to film my February wrap-up. It was a very weird month because I didn't read as much physical books as I wanted to, and it felt really... For a moment I was just in this weird reading slump because I felt like I was reading nothing, and yet I was. I read I think I read two ebooks, one audiobook, and then two physical books. So yeah, let's get started. I finished Little Women this month, and I love the movie. I think I enjoyed the movie a lot more than the book, and yet the book gave me so much context and just gave me that extra sort of material that I wanted. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really recommend it, and I am going to be buying it physically. Little Women is definitely one of my favorite stories of the year, and I really just connected to it and connected to the story of each of the sisters. And I think that the movie itself for me is a masterpiece and it's one of my favorite movies of all time, but the book itself, it just gives you this sort of nostalgic feeling because it's written for kids, especially the first half of the book, but then in the second half of the book you follow the March sisters as they turn into adults and how each of them are kind of dealing with their own lives and their own struggles. So it's an amazing book, and I wish there was a sequel or something. Of course we're not gonna get it because it's a classic, but yeah, really enjoyed that one. Then I began my reading for the Blacklit Challenge, which was hosted by Seiji at The Artisan Geek. And yeah, I wanted to read Binti for the challenge of a book with a black person on the cover and a book that was outside of your comfort zone. I don't really read much sci-fi, and I don't really read many short works. This is, I think, a novella of 100 pages, and I think that was my main issue with this book. It's very short, and because of it we don't really get to flush out the characters or the world, and I think that it would have benefited so much from that. I really enjoyed the concept of the world, and I should talk about first what the book is about because I have not. The book follows Binti, who is a girl that was accepted to the school that is in another planet, I believe. She lives with her family, and her family wanted her to basically stay in her planet and take over the family business. However, Binti was accepted to this very difficult to get to school for, I think it's science and mathematics, and she decides to leave her family behind and basically go to this school. And we get to follow not only her leaving her family, but also the journey getting to this new university and the things that occur there, and how the world and the political turmoil that is gone around the galaxy kind of seeps through, and Binti is caught up in just this entire mess of politicians and conflicts and stuff like that. So there were many things that I wish that could have gotten that conflict between Binti and her family a little more fleshed out, because when she left her family I felt like the book was telling me that it was very hard for her and there was this sort of inner conflict within her, but I couldn't really feel it because we hadn't established a good relationship with her family in the first place. And then I don't want to get into spoilers because I don't want to spoil the story, but I think that certain things were rushed and certain things didn't make sense for the story and the conflict. People were forgiven very quickly for the amount of damage that was done. So I think that was my main issue. I don't know if I will continue with this story. I think that there are 3 installments as of today, and yeah, I'm still kind of debating if I'm going to read it. It's a very short book, so it won't take much of my time, but I really wish that this was a full length novel. It would have been amazing if it was a full-length novel. So yeah, that was that. Then I read The Child Finder. I kind of mentioned in my tag that one of my goals for the upcoming year was to read more mystery and more kind of thriller-esque kind of books, and The Child Finder was one of the books that I chose for that. The Child Finder is basically about that. A woman that is a child finder, that is her job. She finds missing children, and we don't really get to know why she... Well, we get to know. I'm not gonna spoil it, but I think that one of the things that throughout the book you're trying to figure out is why this character chose this career in the first place, and why she connects so deeply with this kind of a job. So in The Child Finder, we basically get to follow her as she is trying to find this other girl that went missing about 3 years ago, I believe. And again, I'm a person that gets scared easily, and yet this book did none of that for me. I did not feel thrilled, or just I didn't feel the suspense. I don't know if it's because I listened to it on audiobook. That might have been it. But I think that the main issue with this book is that you get two parallel stories. So you get the parallel story of the woman kind of trying to figure out what happened, and then you get the story of the girl herself that was missing. So the sort of mystery or conflict aspect of the story is kind of lost, because you already know what happened to this girl from the get-go, and it's that kind of dynamic of the reader knows what happened but the character doesn't, and I find that incredibly annoying. I don't know, it's just, what is the point of me reading this book if I already know what happened? I would have wanted the book to kind of follow the path of, is the girl alive? Is she not? Where is she? What happened? And kind of find out as the character finds out herself. But that wasn't it. I have the second book. I'm probably gonna read it because I spent money on it. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that book. I don't know. Again, could have been better. Then I read With the Fire on High to continue with my Blacklit challenge. This also counted for a black person on the cover, and I really did enjoy this book, and I think the reason why I connected so much to it, it's because this follows an Afro-Puerto Rican girl, or at least she's descendant of Puerto Ricans. So this book has a lot of Puerto Rican elements to it, and I just felt so nostalgic kind of reading through it and reading the interactions and the things that only Puerto Ricans know. So there is a lot of mention of artists from Puerto Rico, singers, and just so many things, food, just cultural references that really, I think that they were wonderfully done. But as for the story itself, we follow a girl named Imani. She became pregnant when she was, I think, 15 or 16, and we basically follow her life afterwards as she becomes a senior in high school, and just kind of the whole struggle of, what am I gonna do with my life? What am it's not only my own desire, but what is good for my child. And it's just amazing, and I think that there's also a magical realism kind of element to this book, because Imani loves to cook, and everything that she cooks, the things that she feels are kind of transmitted to the food that she cooks, and then the person that eats that meal kind of feels those emotions that she was feeling when she cooked it. So I think it's great. It's a great story and I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the audiobook as well, so really do recommend this one. And finally, I read Parable of the Sower for the Blacklit Challenge, and this was a book discounted for a book that was written before the 21st century. So I love this book so much. It's not a happy book. It's not a, I don't know. Yeah, it's not a happy book. And yet there is so much to be unpacked here. I made a review about it last week, so I will link it below. And I'm not gonna give too many thoughts about this book because, again, I made a review. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. This basically follows an America that's very violence heavy. Things are not, it's almost as if people are just on their own and there is no sort of order, and only the people that are wealthy can protect themselves. So for instance, we follow the character of Lauren Olamina. She lives, her father is a minister, and they all live in a pretty quote-unquote safe space. It's a small community of about 10 to 12 houses, and they live surrounded by a wall that protects them from the things that are going on around outside. And she hears tales of things that are going on outside, as to just rape, violence, robberies, death, murder, and people kind of have resorted to this kind of violence in order to survive. They rob from each other, they rob food and resources and all this stuff. But I think that another element that is very interesting about this book is that Lauren doesn't believe in the religion that her father preaches. Instead, she kind of forms her own religion called Red Seed, and that religion is formed on the basis that God is change and that God is shaped by its people. So I go a little bit more in depth in my review, so again, if you want more thoughts about this book, I will redirect you to that video. But I really enjoyed this book, and I can't wait to see what happens in the sequel. So yeah, those were all the books that I read in February. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and yeah, I hopefully will be making a March TBR, maybe. I don't like to make TBRs because I never stick to them, but I think that I'm gonna make one this March. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys with the next video. Bye!